All right, guys. I'm believe it or not, we are live again. Let's get the microphone out of the way so I don't hit anyone in the face. But I'm going to answer some of these questions. I can't expect you guys to come back and watch any of these, but I did want to answer some of your questions. Maybe some of you will be able to come back and catch these. But I hate ending the show and not answering questions. So I want to take a couple minutes and do that. Hopefully everyone can hear me because it says that the microphone's working. So if there's anybody out there, let me know. But yeah, I'm going to go back. I'm going to look at some of the super chat questions that we had and go from there. So, all right, Jason, thank you for letting me know. Guys, if you were on the previous super chat, I want to answer your questions for sure. So that is, I didn't hit the microphone, by the way. I didn't hit it. It just literally snapped out and just turned off. So I don't know what to tell you on that one. But let's go through some of the super chats here. And I'm not going to have all of them, unfortunately, but I will try to do my best to answer a lot of these tech questions. All right, guys. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. All right. Everyone's telling me they can't hear me. So that didn't work out, but let's scroll up. They changed BNN says, hey, heads up, they changed the front bolt setup on the new Sea-Doos, and now the front bolt hole on the Riva intake grate is too small to get a socket on the nut to tighten it down. Well, if they did that, well, okay, well, how do you take the factory one off? You got to be able to put it on. So just use the factory hardware. I'm not seeing the problem on that one. You can just use the factory hardware if the bolt from Riva is too small. You can put a washer underneath it. You're gonna have to explain if Bun comes back or BNN comes back on that one. I'll have to answer. But I have not heard of anything regarding the intake grate being any sort of different size. All right. Scott writes, Carl Camper worked with the Navy to design silent running submarine propulsion systems, then worked at Sea-Doo a little bit. I know Scott brought up Carl before when we talked about Sea-Doo's design team for the RXPX years ago. He was talking about Carl. I've heard a lot about silent propulsion systems on submarines and heard some really amazing stuff. Particularly in regards to Caterpillar systems. And those are hydro. Oh, is it not hydroelectric, but they're hydroelectric dynamic magnet propulsion systems, wherein it's a tube of electromagnets that literally reflect and refract water through it. So it's quite literally like a caterpillar of water moving through the propulsion systems. And believe it or not, that is exactly what the Red October was in Tom Clancy's Hunt for Red October, which, if you don't know the story, the book came out, and within a couple months, Tom Clancy was asked to come to the White House, and he met with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan sat down, offered him lunch, then leaned in across the table, and he said, okay, time to tell me what you know. Clancy's like, I'm a postal worker. I talk to guys in Langley. I just am real friendly with those guys, and they tell me about stuff that we just don't do. So Caterpillar electromagnetic systems had been around for a long time. I know there was a Swiss patent out on them. And that Swiss patent was I think it was filed like in the early 80s, like 81 or 82. And so the idea was that someone had applied that technology to a nuclear submarine, and the Russians were the ones to get it. Now, I have heard, and this was about 8 years ago, that the Chinese actually got it working, and Chinese submarines are a true run silent submarine. And so the way that American intelligence picks up on them is that they quite literally, there's a couple different things about the submarine. First, they run silent, but not for very long. And then the other thing is that they have a lot of noise canceling, like external noise canceling technology. So basically the Americans just go, okay, we search the oceans for where there's absolutely zero sound, because the ocean is full of life and activity, and it makes sound. And so we've actually picked up on these submarines by finding pockets of silence in the ocean. Okay. Johnny G writes, my old man wants to sell his 2019 FX SVHO because he thinks the Cowie LX will handle rough water better. Please help me out. Well, he's not wrong, but is your dad charging through the Pacific Ocean at full throttle? Because unless he's like super Mr. Offshore, really rough water, go get him, the FX will do just fine. The problem is that the FX is a wet ride, and if he isn't quote unquote old men get all upset when they're sopping wet because they wear jeans and flannels when they go out and they ride. I'm exaggerating, but that's kind of the problem. So I would strongly suggest, before your dad sells his FX SVHO, to go out and get a Riva ride plate. Go get the Riva ride plate. The Riva ride plate is not on back order. You can get them. And the Riva ride plate is going to get that nose up. It's going to behave a lot better in rough water. It really is. The Riva ride plate will almost be night and day. In fact, I'd almost say put it on without them knowing. Hey, all right, BNN. I want to go back to your question. Or go back to your point about the intake rate, because that's an interesting question. But anyhow, as far as Johnny's concerned, the Riva ride plate will make a demonstrable difference. So I strongly recommend, before he goes and loses his butt on a payment that he's made on a beautiful, great ski that I personally think is one of the best on the market, and I really do mean that. Like, I would own one. Get a Riva ride plate. Because honestly, the changes I would make to a 2000, if I owned your dad's ski, I'd put a Riva ride plate on it. I'd put the Pro Series sponsons on it, and then I would do the 8,000 stock tune, and I would die a happy man. It would be great. So yeah, most definitely. Okay. Proves that he's not listening to us, Gary. No, the mic cut off. I'm sorry. Edward says you're an honest jerk. That's a compliment. I appreciate that, Edward. All right. Let's see here. My neighbor got a Scat Pack Challenger. She just retired from the electrical union. The car makes some noise. All right. BNN says, they flipped the bolt around in the middle of last year, and now the head of the bolt is inside the hull, and the nut is on the outside of the grate. Well, when you take the intake, they still have to assemble it. I was able to take the nut off from the stock grate with a 17 millimeter socket, no problem. Okay, sounds good. So it's just a stud sticking through. All right. They glass a stud through it. Sounds good. So what's the problem? Is the 17 millimeter socket now too big to go into the hole for the Riva intake grate? Is that the problem? But when I went to replace the grate with the Riva one, the hole on the front is too small for the socket to fit into. All right. Couple solutions for you. You might not like any of them, especially because it's powder coated. Okay, number one, call Riva. And let them know. Because guaranteed, you haven't encountered anything they haven't seen already. All right? Because they get the brand new skis like 6 months before production. They get all pre-production units to do all their testing on. So call them first and let them know what the problem is. If you don't encounter, if someone gives you grief and be like, you're full of crap, you're dumb, which I guarantee you won't, but worst case scenario, you do, you have some options. I emailed them on Saturday, but they're closed until tomorrow. Okay, well, there you go. Worst case scenario is find a different nut that will let you put a 16 on it. You can do that. That's not the best, but you can go to Ace Hardware. You can go to a hardware store, find a different nut. There are different nuts. You can find a Castle style nut, an Acorn style nut, and that'll fit on. Not my favorite choice, but you could do that. The other one, which also totally sucks, is that you could auger out. You could take a scroll and you can grind out the hole a little bit bigger. You're going to eat through all that powder, that nice black powder coating, but you can open up that hole nice and round and you'll be fine. Or you could go to, this is actually a better option. Hear me out on this one. Go to Advance Auto. Buy a 17 mil deep well socket. Take it home. If you got a bench grinder, start taking material out of the outside of that cheapo piece of crap deep well socket. That way you're not hurting your good tools. You're not grinding up on the new on the new intake grate. You're grinding up a $10 little deep well or a $6 deep well socket. Grind some material off of it so it'll slip in. That way you keep the factory nut. That way you don't mar up the hell out of your intake grate. And you got a cheapo little tool that you can pop in, pop out. You'll be fine. You're not putting a freaking impact on it going, so you're good. You'll be fine with that one. I would strongly recommend that as being your cheap answer. Your cheap answer would just be gonna go get a socket, a 17 mil socket, and grind some material off the outside of it. Don't go crazy, but grind enough material that you can slip it in. I suggest on that. I suggest that one. Okay. Jackson says, I recently got a 2020 RX PX 300 in Australia. What are some good starting mods to do? Already does 122. Kill me. All right. Number one, break it in. Number one, break it in. Break it in, break it in, break it in. Get your 5 hours minimum. Don't start messing with the ECU until after 6 hours. Safety first. Number one, sponsons. The X Series sponsons on the RX PX are identical to the RX TX, and they're as useless as tits on a bull. They're not that great. Go get the all right, he's already got 13 hours. Good man. All right. Number two, sponsons. Pro Series sponsons. And I say Pro Series sponsons for a reason. I know you can get the works. I know you can get the work sponsons cheaper. I know you can. All right. Don't. Get the Pro Series sponsons from Riva. I know it's an extra $200 or an extra $300. There's a major difference. All right. There is a major difference. And if you want to know the major difference between the two, I'm going to put up an article. All right. I'll give that a shot tomorrow. No problem. All right. I'll give that a shot tomorrow. No problem, BNN. I am very happy to help. I'm glad we're able to do this. I'm going to give you, hey, Jackson, I'm going to give you an article to read. It's going to scientifically, mathematically prove prove that the Pro Series sponsons are demonstrably better and better performing than the Work Series sponsons when it comes to the Sea-Doo. I implore you. Here, I got the link right here. I'm bringing it over. Please read this article. Please read it. It's thick. It's really, really dense, but it's going to get into the nuts and bolts of pivot point and where a ski turns. And then it's very important that there's a difference between drag and operating or optimal pivot point. You want your ski to optimally turn, or you want a ski to turn on its optimal pivot point. The Works Series sponsons only give you drag. The Riva sponsons are going to provide you actual optimal pivot point. Okay, that's number one. Number two, intake grate. The top loader intake grate for the Sea-Doo is good. The top loader intake grate for the Sea-Doo, or the top loader intake grate on the RX-PX is good. It could be better. All right. Traction is king with the RX-PX. If you do not have traction, you're screwed. You're screwed. You're driving in the ice with bald tires. I'm telling you. Okay. Number three, catch can. All right. It's $149. Get the Riva catch can. You do not want that extra engine blow-by in the intercooler and in the intake manifold and in the throttle body, and definitely not in your valves and in your pistons. Get the Riva catch can. Fourth one. Number 4. SCOM. Speed Control Override Module. All of these things will give your catch can engine longevity. SCOM, you're on court, dude. You're going you got 300 horse. You're killing it. You're going to go 77 miles an hour all day long. Okay? Intake grate, traction. All right, constant hookup. You're constantly hooking up that pump. Sponsons, cornering. Why did you get that ski? That ski is designed for cornering. You bought a sport bike, not a Harley. You want to go around corners the best you can. That's why you get those sponsons. So, sponsons, intake grate, catch can, SCOM. You'll be dialed. All right. Alrighty. Just got a 2021 GTR. Should I run a separate battery for a depth finder? No, you'll be fine. It's not nearly. You won't have the draw. I'll tell you what, guys. The factory electrical system. The factory electrical system is absolutely killer. All right, it's making. It's not even overcharging that little battery, and you're literally running 14.2 amps all the time. You'll be fine. Yeah. Depth finder, you're groovy. You're good. All right. Definitely done. It's got 13 hours. I have on order a 2021 GP1800R SVHO. What are the first mods I should get? I have a whole video on that, Evan. I have a whole video on that. And it is taking forever to come up. But I did its own separate video, and for the life of me, I can't seem to find it. But I do like the screenshot. Oh, I did the top 4 for Sea-Doo. Sorry. Top 4 for the GP1800R SVHO. Engine breather kit. Small little breather. Goes on in 45 seconds. All right. That's crankcase. Yeah, it's just crankcase longevity. I would frankly do the stock I would do the stock 8,000 tune. I would do the stock 8,000 tune on that. Pro Series sponsons, they're killer. Intake grate is a Riva intake grate. Ride plate's a Riva ride plate. They're literally they're literally theirs. They just don't powder coat them. But for the GP, I would do sponsons. The intake grate's pretty damn good. You know what? The air breather, the cold air kit. Cold air kit would be good. Yeah, I'd probably go that way. I would just do a real basic stage 1. Nothing too bananas. Because you're going to go 80. Well, no. You would do like 78 with all that. Okay. Hopefully that helped. Sorry. Okay. Brian Nguyen. Or Brian Wynn. Is it Wynn? I grew up with, I'm sorry. It's Nguyen. Or it's Wynn. I'm sorry. Brian Nguyen. Okay. I'm planning on getting a GTI 130 non-SE model at my local dealer. Has a crazy markup right now. What's normal throughout the country? Well, I hate to say it, but it's supply and demand. And demand is through the roof and supply sucks. So I don't really know what to tell you. It's just kind of the breaks right now. Everyone's got to get one. It's freezing cold outside. It's the middle of February. There is no boat show season because a lot of boat shows have been canceled. So dealers aren't really making any sort of deals. Yeah, I'm sorry, Brian. Get used. Get pre-owned. I don't know. All right, Jackson, you're welcome. Tim, did they change the carbon seal on the RX-TX? Okay, that's a good question. That's a really good question because what I know regarding the carbon seal is that they had problems with, okay, how do I make this short? My understanding was that when Sea-Doo took everything to Mexico, their supplier for the carbon seals supplied them product for a couple more years, fulfilled their contract, and then they had to move and find a new supplier local to Mexico. And they really struggled with the suppliers in Mexico. And they worked very closely with them, and they were trying to get the formula right, but it just wasn't working out. And they were having a lot of failures. My understanding is that early 2000 models had a new compound, had a new recipe, had a new mixture for the carbon seal. And that new carbon seal was on everything. Now, the RXPX and the GTX Limited and the Fish Pro, both skis with IDF and the RXPX, all got a new revised drive shaft, prop shaft. I say drive shaft, sorry, prop shaft. That revised prop shaft had a different retaining clip because a couple of the times the retaining clips were popping out or breaking. So, and that new retaining clip and that new carbon seal also had a different hat, you know, the billet hat, the little trumpet that comes up. So I just dropped a pen. My thinking is that the prop shaft has a new retaining clip, has a new hat, you know, the billet hat, and a different seal, or carbon seal. Those three things, well, yeah, all four things, shaft, clip, hat, and seal have been revised. They're not big look at me things. They're not going to advertise it, because to advertise it is to say like, we screwed up. Oh my gosh, please shut up. Stupid chimes. All right. So they're not really going to toot their own horn about that, but there have been modifications. My understanding is that the revised clip and shaft and hat gets out on the 21s. But again, no, on the 22s. Excuse me. The 21s, the only skis with the new shaft on 21 is the 2 skis with IDF and the RXPX. Hope that answers you. All right. Let's see here. Kevin, I'm looking at the Yamaha Limited SVHO this spring for the lake, pulling kids on tubes and skis. I understand you do like this ski. Would you do any mods for my application? Engine breather, number 1. You know what? You don't really need the sponsons. You don't really need the tune. I mean, unless you want to like hot dog it. I'd just do an engine breather. If it's going to be just a kick around the lake and have fun with the kids, you don't need to go 80. So I think you'll be fine. Kevin, I'd almost leave it. I'd leave it as is and just take good care of it. Make sure you're on top of your oil changes. All right, Jay writes, hello from the Philippines. Does the Riva ride plate add any speed to... Oh my gosh, yes, like 3 miles an hour. 2 to 3 miles an hour. Especially the HO, less than that. But here's the thing is, okay, let me explain a little bit here. This is going longer than I was expecting it to. All right. Let's say this is level. I'm eyeballing it. All right. This is your ski's attitude, is how level it is in the water, is attitude. All right. When Yamaha designed the FX, they realized in stock form the ski was going 71, 72. This is the SVHO. And they're like, this damn thing's going too fast. What do we got to do to slow it down so that the Coast Guard doesn't come down on us like a ton of bricks? So what they figured out is they go, well, listen, this isn't the best answer, but it's the easiest. And the easiest was to make a ride plate that did this. So suddenly it forced the ski's attitude down in the water. That's why the ski nose plows. It nose plows. And what happens when you nose plow a ski? Water comes up and you have a wet ride, right? So what does Riva do? Riva completely gets rid of that intake grate or that ride plate. The ride plate kicks upwards and suddenly the ski totally corrects itself and even gains, I believe it's like 1 to 2 degrees of attitude. All right, brings the nose up. Well, what does that do? That cleans up the riding. It cleans up the riding surface, so it's not nose plowing, but it's riding a little bit higher. Okay, and since the ride plate actually elongates the running surface, you've actually changed the pivot point a little bit, so now you're picking up speed. Just the ride plate on an SVHO picked up like 2.8 or 2.9 miles per hour. Just the ride plate. So I'm not going to say that the HO is going to pick up 3 miles an hour. It'll pick up some speed because it's nose plowing. It's an anchor. It's just grinding through the water. Bring that nose up. Okay. Hope that helps, Jay. When is one of these jet ski manufacturers going to make a transmission? We talked about this. Eric, are you baiting me? I talked about this ad nauseum. I give Sea-Doo 5 years before there's a high and low gear and a full reverse. Nah, maybe 7. I want to say 5. Okay. Jackson says, my dealer that I purchased my RXPX 300 from said that I should wait for my first service closer to 20 hours. Is that okay? To modify your ski? Sure. I mean, I definitely recommend you change your oil after break-in, like after 10 hours. I definitely recommend that. Mike C. writes, Why do people hate on the Spark so much? It's fun shooting the side channels on the river. Plus, lightweight makes it easy to pull out when you're slinging it on the reeds. Dude, I actually like Sparks. But see, here's the thing. I know what the Spark is trying to be. I don't besmirch the Spark because it's not something else. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm not mad at a cat because it doesn't play fetch or bark and shake hands. Like the ski for what it does. I mean, that's why I'm always kind of floored when I see people who are like, I'm going to buy an RXPX to go long distance traveling or long distance cruising. That's not what it's designed to do. That's the wrong kind of animal. So, you know, I like Sparks, Spark Tricks, fun ski. I know a turbo Spark, even if it was just 130, 110 or 130 horse, if it was 130 horse, they'd sell every one of them. 110, they'd still probably sell every one of them, but people would want 130. I'm telling you, a turbo Spark, a Spark X, that would sell out. It would sell out. Oh my gosh. Okay. Just bought a new 2021 GTI SE 170. Still one of my favorites. Easily one of the best seadoos to come out in 2020. Hands down. All right. Upgraded from a Spark. What do you think of the GTI 170? Jason. You need to visit the Watercraft Journal. Please visit the Watercraft Journal. In fact, we did a video on it too. But this article has the video. Jason, please read the article link that I just put up specifically for you. Okay, guys, I don't know if I have any more questions here. Let's see here. If we map tune the SVHO speed and boost limiter, then you have to put a blow-off valve on, correct? No. If you're going balls out, then yeah. But I don't think you're going balls out because you're asking me here, Mark. Mark Thompson on the other video wrote. Mark Thompson writes, if we map tune the SVHO speed and boost limiter, we have to put on a blow-off valve. There is a blow-off valve on the ski. It exists. It's a little gray thing, looks like a teapot. It's got a hose going into it. It's not very sexy. It's not like one of those nice billet anodized ones. But if you're just opening it up and you're just going to have some fun with it, by all means, you can the stage 1 tune, you don't have to touch anything. In fact, I think you don't have to touch anything until stage 3. The factory blow-off valve will be fine. Don't spend money if you don't have to. Guys. All right? You're not John Force. You don't need everything to make 16,000 horsepower. You're good. Just talk to Riva. Riva will walk you through it. But yes, you don't need a blow-off valve for that. Guys are trying to sell you a blow-off valve or trying to sell you a blow-off valve. Not because you need it. All right? The factory one will do fine unless you're making stupid amounts of boost. All right? Okay. We got a couple more questions, and then I think I'm going to wrap it up because this is 34 minutes. To make it like I installed the catch can from the start. Rob. Okay. Oh, Rob writes. Sorry, I missed your first comment. Rob Greenwood writes, I have a 2019 GTX 300 and just bought the Riva catch can. My ski already has around 70 hours on it. Is there anything I could do, back it up, to make it like I installed the catch can from the start? Well, okay. Put the catch can on. Do that, number one. Then do yourself a favor. Take the inspection cover off. The whole big, giant inspection cover off. get on your belly, crawl down, stick your head in there, and take one of the big 4-inch diameter or 4-inch diameter intercooler hoses off. Get a pen light or a good LED flashlight that you can stick in there. Look inside with your flashlight and tell me if you see metal or if you see kind of a gross vanilla pale colored cream all over the vents on your intercooler. Here's why. Because if you see that your intercooler is kind of foamed up, that's all that oil and crap and contaminants from the inside of your engine being aerated through your intake and blown into your intercooler. All right? You really do. So then you got to go to Home Depot or Lowe's and go get a big can, like a 16-ounce can or a 12-ounce can of air conditioner cleaner. All right? It's an aerosol can, usually with a green cap. And it's what you spray on like the radiators or the condensers for your outdoor air conditioner. Okay? If that's the case, the guys at 3 feet deep do a great tutorial on how to clean your intercooler. It's outstanding. Those guys are one of the best when it comes to seadoo tech and tutorials. Check out that video. All right? Tell them Kevin sent you. But that will teach you how to clean out your intercooler. Then, if you want to take the extra step, you can take your intake manifold off, make sure that's clean, but that's only if the intercooler is all gummed up. Otherwise, if it's not all glued up, if it doesn't look all silly stringed up with foamy crap, you're good. Bolt it back on. You're aces. Okay. Trenton writes, I ordered a 2021 GP 1800 cover from Riva because my dealer couldn't get one until June. Wow, that sucks. Supply chain, dude. Supply chain is so borked. It's so bad right now. It sucks. Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that. It just sucks right now. The supply chain is really, really bad. All right, guys. That does it. It's almost been 40 minutes. But I think we're aces. I think we're in good shape. So, guys, thank you again. I'm sorry about the microphone thing. Ugh, that sucked. I don't know what happened. It just kicked out. And I didn't hit it. I didn't hit the microphone. I rewatched the video. My wife came downstairs and was like, oh, you hit the microphone. And we both watched and I didn't hit it. So anyway. But guys, thanks again. We really appreciate it. Please check out the Watercraft Journal, watercraftjournal.com. We publish articles every day, Monday through Friday, one new article a day. We will also be publishing a new video every day, which is our quick topic videos. They publish at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every article goes live at midnight Central Standard Time. Other than that, guys, thanks again. Have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.